being said, we have a lot to cover. So I want to explain to you how all this works and why we're doing this. We created this nonprofit a year ago, and the mission was to tie in all our companies. 3 years ago already? Wow. So a lot of infrastructure building. And when we started this, the goal was we wanted to help people. That's really the fundamentals of it. And then one of the things you have to understand is most nonprofit companies don't have money, okay? And they have opportunities on real estate. Most investors have money, but don't have the opportunities that the nonprofit has. And same thing with the agent. So basically, Synergy gets their opportunities from government sites. And those are, anybody can access them. You go online and you watch the website, and you can pick whatever property you want. However, there's a special condition, and that's really a 10-day window that's very unique and very tight, that the nonprofits get priority over everything that comes out. So the nice thing about that, as you can imagine, the best deals, if somebody who is talented and understands real estate, we can pick out what's good first, and there aren't that many real estate development nonprofits. So we get to see what the good deals are, and then Eddy and Astrid do the analysis and tell us how they comp out in the market, what kind of spreads there are. And fundamentally, all this is done to help people, because the normal person who wants to buy a HUD home doesn't have the wherewithal to change the electrical box, get a loan to renovate their house, so they don't know how to go about it, they get intimidated, so they don't do it. And so we're able to focus on the workforce housing. And that's really the crisis in Florida. Everybody, it's throughout the United States, but the worst place in all of the United States, believe it or not, is Florida. So our goal is to use our skill set, our team, our talents to try to address that portion. And what's nice about that is how it ties into the development is when we go in and do a big project, and by the way, thank you for your kind words, and I have to plug here that we're selected as the developers, but you have to imagine that we selected our favorite broker to do the $650 million project, so we're very excited to get started on this. But when we do these projects, we're enabling clients that normally either don't think they can buy a house or didn't have the wherewithal to buy the house, and now we're putting an opportunity in front of them. And the way we do it is we team up, and that's the whole purpose of the mix and the team that we created, we call it the team synergy, is to take the investors and say, you can go buy it on your own, but if you buy with us, you get first shot at the deal. And the same thing with the agents and the brokers. So even though they might not be with Eddy, they can do a collaboration and work together, and that will give them the opportunity to create more transactions.
Let me just share something. We, as the Synergy Center, have alliances with the Housing Department in Palm Beach County and in Broward County, and we help first-time home buyers assess the properties. So money for the down payment, but then when you go find the houses, there's nothing out there. So that's how part of the synergy created, because we get the people ready to buy their homes, the government gives them the money, and when you go look, there's very limited things. So then, that's why we decided to partner up with developers, so that, by the way, Synergy Center is also building homes, and that's one of the things that we creating funds to continue building homes for workforce housing.
Right, so there's a lot of demand out there for this workforce housing. And by offering these products, now we can go into our major developments, and usually they're in areas that the cities or the CRAs, the community redevelopment agencies, want to reposition. So we have a major project coming like Dania Beach, which is the Dania Beach City Center. But all around it, it's got a whole community. Sometimes you have placarded up homes, you have vacant lots of houses that were demolished. So the mission of Synergy Center is to go in all of the surrounding projects or area and pick up these properties either through the city, sometimes they donate them to us, they give us the land, or they give us a deep discount or whatnot. And what we do is we pass the savings on to the end user.
We have quite a few waiting.
Right, but the nice thing about that is it gives them the opportunity to access home ownership, which otherwise, without teaming all this crew together, we wouldn't be able to do. So it all starts with the first step. As you can see, this is like a cycle. and I call it a never-ending cycle. And because there's so much demand, our goal was to inform people of what we have to offer and give the opportunities to investors and builders and all that to get involved in those communities. So there's more deals than just the deals we can do or that Synergy can do. And as I'll explain, you'll see how it could benefit quite a bit for a Synergy Center and also for the investor community and all that. Because there's so much to do, we can't handle it all. And there's room for everybody. So the first step is Capital Realty starts the process. It's always like that. Eddy and Astrid and their team identify the opportunities. They look at the government websites every day and they look at the opportunity. And actually, we're going to have one tonight to show you. Then after that, they present it to their investor. Each investor has a different profile. Some people like the single family, some like the duplexes, some like condos. Everybody's got a preference in the investment world. So they create a profile with each investor, and then they show them stuff that's within their budget, within their types.
And by the way, so the investors that we have been working with on a regular basis are the ones that we already have identified the criteria and the appetite for whatever product they're looking for. And we already have the approval funds, so when the opportunity comes that are based for what they're looking for, we present it to them. So it's good to be in the inner circle because you get the preference.
Right. So in the game plan stage, it's really you get to sit down with the investor and explain how the process works, what they're supposed to do. So really what HUD is looking for is the proof of funds, and what we look for is the ability to complete the project, to make sure that we don't get into a problem or the project doesn't get well done.
And the end user gets their home.
Right. So after we establish the agreement with the investor, then the next step is we go to Synergy Center and we present that we have an investor with a proof of funds and we have identified a project, and Synergy Center puts the offer usually through HUD or one of the other government sites. And because they're on the priority list, remember again, that's probably the key to this whole thing, is we have 10 days head start on everybody else. So if we bid, only another nonprofit can bid, and very, very few are real estate development nonprofits, which we have the designation. So it's very hard for a regular nonprofit to go and get involved in this. So there's all these opportunities, and that's why there's all these investors that wait for the 10 days to lapse, which the nonprofits don't capitalize on. And now, with our team in place, we can do that. So after we present through Synergy, then we make the offer, and we provide the proof of funds, and that's the deal-making part of the process. The next one, 5, is finding the optimum scenario. So once you submit to HUD or to whatever government site, you're either offering asking price, above asking price, below asking price, depending on the circumstances, conditions of the property, location, and all that. So I call that finding the optimum scenario. So where they're willing to sell, you're willing to buy, and there's enough for everybody to be successful with. The next step is the due diligence and financing. Obviously, that's key because a good deal can turn into a nightmare, as even experienced developers and experienced realtors and brokers have experience, but you try to avoid. So you do your proper due diligence, and you get ready for your closing, and you close on your property. The next step, number 7. This is tricky because you have to make sure that you have the right team to do your renovation or your construction work. Sometimes you need permits, sometimes you don't. But the worst thing you can do is get into a project and not know what you're supposed to get. So it's important to team with the right people. And that's why tonight we had some of our folks here, our contractors and subcontractors, that will be glad after the questioning period, you can stay here and just make sure you exchange business cards. And finally, this is the rewarding part 8, is helping people access home ownership. So somebody says, well, how does the nonprofit benefit? The nonprofit can do these on their own, but the nonprofit is small and it can only do so many deals a year due to its own resources. So if we team up with an investor, we can pick out, get paid a fee from the investor, and now the investor can invest in their project, make a normal, reasonable spread, a profit, and now we're able to put back on the market a property that otherwise wouldn't have been there, or would have been very difficult to do. And everything we do is always within the workforce criteria.
Now, also, now a lot of the people buy the properties, they fix them and they resell them. But there's also the investors that just want to buy the properties and keep them and rent them. those are also part of the criteria that we work with for people that have low possibilities of getting property, so, or renters.
And then I've seen both the sisters do this, where they take people who wanna buy, can't buy, so they put them in a rental, they fix their credit, they work with Tony and other people within and Michael back there. So you get their credit fixed, and after a year, 2 years, now they can do an option to buy on the property, or you can make them buy another option. So the opportunities are endless. There's a lot of variations, and what we want to do is inform you that, you know, you want to get to the front of the line and not be just like anybody else, and that's what we have to
All right,
offer.
also we have a military.
Oh, yes.
staff, and we also build green.
Right, so when we do our new construction, it's all green construction, and we have a program for our veterans where we donate, how much was it, $3,000. So it's a lot of exciting stuff, and our people at Synergy are very dedicated. We're actually building up the team, and we hope, you know, to get all this mainstream and move on. So